Very well, Honorable Joshua Kutuny, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the committee embarked on a very comprehensive journey to investigate on the irregularity at Kemsa. And we came up with a I believe it is a very comprehensive report because we interviewed the people who matters the most. And Mr. Speaker, on the matter that you had raised earlier about what the committee did yesterday, I will say clearly that we did not give directives, only we just made recommendations, which has been captured today as part of the report. Mr. Speaker, part of the recommendation that the committee arrived at after doing the investigations, from where our able chair left, is that the Ministry of Health through the National Hospital Insurance Fund, in consultation with the county government, expedite the process of rolling out insurance for health workers in the 22 counties. Mr. Speaker, I have a list here. You will be surprised. And Kenyans need to know this, that the counties which have insurance to their health workers, in this country, there are only 22. The counties which don't have insurance for their health workers are 27. And we have a list here which we are going to circulate to the members from Kilifi, Kwale, Tana River, Meru, Mandera, Nyeri, West Pokot, Samburu, Trans Nzoia, Uasin Gishu, Nandi, Laikipia, Narok, Vihiga, Busia, Siaya, Homa Bay, Migori, Nairobi City, Makueni, Nyandarua, Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo, Bomet. Mr. Speaker, this is a list of shame. The money that was meant to cushion the health workers, they diverted the money to infrastructure instead of directing the money to safeguard the interest of the health workers. Mr. Speaker, in part of our recommendation, Mr. Speaker, is that the ministry should expedite the establishment of framework for offering counseling services to health workers, noting that non-utilization of funds set aside for psychosocial support for front health workers due to lack of framework cause the problem. Mr. Speaker, 50 million was set aside by the ministry, and the money up to today is lying idle. The 50 million, which was meant for psychosocial support for the health workers. That the Ministry of Health within 14 days of tabling of this report should ensure that Kemsa procurement and procure and distribute the reusable face mask designated for the vulnerable in the society, noting that the National Assembly appropriated 300 million in June 2020 for this purpose, and the funds have been available in Kemsa since July, Mr. Speaker, 2020. Mr. Speaker, yesterday when they appeared before the committee, they see it again, they need another 14 days. When they appeared before the committee in September, they say they need another 14 days. Mr. Speaker, it is almost 2 months. Vulnerable groups, they don't have face mask. All these members of parliament, they used their own money to provide face mask. And yet we had appropriated 300 million, Mr. Speaker. On the suppliers, Mr. Speaker, the following we recommended that the Director of Criminal Investigation and EACC undertake in-depth investigation on the irregularities on all companies, including 83 companies that were awarded tenders by the authority with regards to the disputed COVID-19 procurement, and institute relevant actions against those companies found to have contravened the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act and any other applicable law. That upon conclusion of relevant investigation, any company involved in the dispute COVID-19 procurement and found to have contravened the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015 and engaged in any malpractice be blacklisted and barred from doing business with any government entity. That the Registrar of Companies, in accordance with the Companies Act 2015, undertake the audit within 60 days of tabling of this report on all companies, including 83 companies, annexing the report that were awarded tenders by the authority with regards to the dispute COVID-19 procurement, to ascertain their compliance with the Companies Act and take appropriate actions in instances of non-compliance. Mr. Speaker, the committee recommended that Kenya Suppliers Authority Kemsa conclusion of investigation by ethics and corruption in line with relevant undertake steps to resolve issues of stock relevant to Kemsa. Mr. Speaker, this is long overdue. We request the members to adopt this report because it is going to sort out the problem that we are having today. The stocks worth millions are lying idle at Kemsa. Mr. Speaker, we request the committee to rise to the occasion, and I second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
No, just give him 1 minute. That is not on record. Nobody.
Mr. Speaker, I second the report. Thank you.
Member for Kutuny.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to thank the Committee of Health, Mr. Speaker, under the chair of Sabina Chege and Honorable Kutuny, the way they moved very fast to handle this matter. Mr. Speaker, I saw a lot of optimism. But when you read this report, Mr. Speaker, it is very disappointing. It's disappointing in the sense, Mr. Speaker, that is sanitizing. If we are told that these are companies, Mr. Speaker, which were registered and within less than 3 weeks or 1 month, they are given billions of tenders, they should go ahead and name this company, Mr. Speaker, and if possible, they shame them. We want them to be blacklisted from doing government business, Mr. Speaker. Why is the committee shying away from that recommendation? Because it is lacking. Mr. Speaker, what we are seeing in the recommendation is blame game and forwarding the problem to DCI, forwarding the problem to DPP. But this House, Mr. Speaker, under Article 95, it is very clear that this House can deliberate and resolve any matter of importance to this country. If this company, the one they say, buy and shine or whatever, who are the directors? We know them because they're hiding, Mr. Speaker. And I expected a recommendation to show that buy and shine, this company is blacklisted. This is shady work, Mr. Speaker. The Committee of Health has disappointed us very much because we had COVID billionaires. Mr. Speaker, the CEO of Kemsa has been on record that the list of the companies he was given directive. He mentioned this. When you look at this, Mr. Speaker, the company, our committee that we trust, has shied away. Mr. Speaker, as I move on, Honorable Kutuny is my neighbor. I respect him very much. He articulates things both in Kiswahili and English, which some of us cannot do. But when it came to recommendation, Mr. Speaker, and the way you've been articulating things of maize, I expected this to happen here. What happened to my brother Kutuny, my neighbor? I don't know what happened. Mr. Speaker, as we move forward, in terms of the market survey, I've seen you've gone to specifics of saying, investigate the legal officer, investigate the procurement officer, investigate the commercial service officer. I've not seen anywhere where it's targeting the CEO. The buck stops at the CEO. I've not seen. But you should have highlighted, you know, the importance of moving this, Mr. Speaker. You give the critical highlights, Mr. Speaker. That one I did not see. But as I move forward, Mr. Speaker, the more important thing I want to mention, Mr. Speaker, I've lost people who are very close to me. The medics who are close to me, the doctors and the nurses, Mr. Speaker, are our first line of defense. But if at all these PPEs are not given to them, we are nowhere to go. This weekend, I'm going to bury bishops, Mr. Speaker. They provide spiritual nourishment. This COVID doesn't know whose color is and whose pocket is. The president of this country, Mr. Speaker, has been very clear. And he gave a directive for this time frame. How sure are we that these particular bodies, which our committee has recommended, they are going to take action? Mr. Speaker, I listened to news. When the reports came from the ESCC and were taken to DPP, DPP sent them back, Mr. Speaker, that because the investigation had not been done comprehensively. So in this case, I expected also the committee to have called, if possible, the ESCC to come and shed more light on this matter, Mr. Speaker. COVID is a serious issue, Mr. Speaker, because I've lost people who are close to me. And we are here as Kenyans. My humble request is this. We reject this report or we amend and improve when it comes to the recommendations. And I insist, we must have those companies so that they get blacklisted from doing business with the government in future. I object.
Honorable Kutuny, what's your point upon that?
Mr. Speaker, I have listened to my neighbor, Mr. Speaker, and you know, if I think as colleague and members of parliament, it's important to go through the report properly. My friend has taken this opportunity that you have given him to settle the local political scores because he knows that I'm the man who has managed him well in the ground. He pretends that he can be the governor of Trans Nzoia, so he wants to use this platform to smear some of the people who are very strong in the ground. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell Mr. Chris Wamalwa, the purported doctor, Mr. Speaker, it is the report, Mr. Speaker, the report here. Mr. Speaker, the report is not for Mr. Kutuny. The report is for the National Assembly. It was generated by the members of parliament and the members of the committee. And what he's saying is misleading the committee, the House, Mr. Speaker. Every issue, that company, shop and buy, we mentioned, read the annex. In every recommendation, we said annex. And even on the CR12, it is there, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind my friend very clear that if you have any issue against Honorable Kutuny, we can square it down there in the ground. But don't bring it into the national arena. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.